Hello everyone, Gosia Scarrott here, food stylist for Go Getter Women. Welcome to our morning broadcast. We've done Gregory. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to be here.
Yes. How are you today?
I'm outstanding. Thanks so much. I'm ready to rock.
Wow. Don't hear that often, when I ask. Yeah, that's a great answer. Outstanding. So guys, we are running this live stream, just to talk to you a bit more about what really holds us back in our business, how to create this unstoppable attitude, which is also important. I think many people will agree. And what better person really to talk about this than Dan. So Dan, awesome. I know we have this kind of a super awesome, the Unstoppable podcast. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and
Thank you. So DG, without giving into the high life history, that's a long story. 33 years old. Started my business 5 years ago after 8 years in corporate. I spent 8 years with a major financial institution working in anything up to senior management, and I enjoyed the first 4 years of my career, although the sad fact is I joined to get I wanted to have 1 year experience so I could put the name of the company on my CV and then go traveling. But I ended up getting stuck in the corporate way. I'd earn money for the first time. And I was very fortunate when I first joined my career that I actually had, because unlike many to work with some very, very inspiring leaders who at a very early age in terms of how important it is to develop your skills, your mindset, in order to develop your performance in the corporate world. So I worked with some really inspiring leaders at the first 3 or 4 years of my career. Right. But then after year 4, I kind of lost my passion. And I have this phrase, which is, your performance in life is capped by your passion. So, you are
breaking a little bit, your
breaking
connection.
Up. Yeah. So after 4 years, I really lost the passion for what I was doing. And, my application of myself in the career is starting to dwindle. My performance started to dwindle as a result. And, I really knew it wasn't the place for me. And no matter where I looked, I looked at other corporate careers. I looked at, other business areas, and nothing seemed to appeal to me. It all looked the same. Every 4 walls looked like there were 4 walls. But it took me 4 more years to actually pluck up the courage. That's 4 freaking years to pluck up the courage.
I am with you.
Put a corporate job behind, it was hard work. You have the salary coming in the same time every month. It's very easy, and I was good at, despite the fact I lost passion, I was relatively good at what I did. So it didn't take a lot of thought to do what I did, but I was totally dissatisfied by the end. And it got to a point where it was 1 year before my 30th birthday, and I'd always dreamed of starting my own business. And I was like, that's it, enough. So I booked 2 flights, which cornered me because it meant that I had to hand in my notice. I tried twice before, but they always gave me more money or a promotion. So I booked two flights, which would snooker me, because if I got on the first flight, the second one was too far away for me to come back and go back to work. So my intention was going to take some time off after 8 years in banking. So I handed my notice 1 month before my 29th birthday. I thought, right, I've got 1 year to get cracking at building this business.
Right.
What happened after that was just 2012. And I always thought I had quite a bit of responsibility in my corporate career, but actually the truth is when you come out and start a business for yourself, you realize how little responsibility you really had. You had a team of up to 200 people at times. And, I thought, when you're starting a business for yourself, every single decision, what product and service am I going to launch? Who's my target market? How am I going to reach them?
And what makes you, if I can ask, because for me it's very interesting. So many people, can definitely resonate. This moment when you actually make a decision, is it something that you were just certain that this will happen? Like that's something that, for example, personally I felt. This was just stronger. It was just always at the back of my head. But what actually made you make this step from this safe kind of job in terms of even like mindset? Like what was?
I would say, on reflection, I had a false sense of certainty.
False sense of certainty. That's so interesting.
False sense of certainty, because you don't realize because at the time, at the big, get it 2012, there was a lot of people out there, promoting the laptop. It was peak lifestyle design season. Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week was in flow, and there was all these speakers and educators out there talking about the laptop lifestyle, and they all made it sound freaking easy to start a business. But the truth is, and with the podcast, I've met many of these people who started these businesses. There is a lot of work that goes into your business. So I believe I had a false sense of certainty about how the business would go when I first started it. But I had a mentor who asked me the question, are you happy in your job? And I said to him, happy is a strong word. And if you are in a position in your life where you believe that happy is a strong word, then you're in the wrong place, because happy should never be difficult. So I realized I was not happy in what I was doing, and I thought life is freaking short, and I don't want to live my life in an unhappy state. So having had that conversation, he said, "What's the worst notice on Monday? What would be the worst case scenario? What would happen?" And he said, "You don't have to answer that now. I want you to go home and write down the 10 worst case scenarios of what would happen if you handed in your notice on Monday." Now, I didn't hand in my notice that Monday, but I did go home and do the exercise. And what materialized is, no matter what I wrote on that list, it didn't intimidate me. It didn't scare me. I was not a heavy drinker. I would never got into drugs. So even if I fucked up, excuse my language, I don't know if language is allowed, let's be real. I always had a good family. I always had a good set of friends. I did have a good CV that I could fall back on. So no matter what, I just decided, as long as this thing still works, my brain still works, and my heart still beats, I can find a way forward. And that has been a mantra at the heart of my mindset since that moment. As long as my mind still works and my heart still beats, I can always find a way.
So from the moment you obviously left job to where you are now, obviously you set up the great podcast. Yeah, can you just say a little bit about this kind of resilience in you, or this kind of unstoppable attitude? Because I think that's probably something makes me think that's in the first place something that really inspired you to actually name your podcast in this way. Your very strong sense of this attitude, very specific mindset, and the hunger.
Yes.
So yes, unstoppable, right? Tell me a little bit more about unstoppable story.
Yeah. So the unstoppable idea came from 3 years of real struggle, stress, and sacrifice.
Right.
Like I said, I had this false sense of certainty that I was going to just step out, and within 3 months my business would be booming. I've been drinking cocktails on the beach. And there are things that I could have done in my corporate career to help facilitate that. But I went through 3 years of struggle, stress, and sacrifice, partly because of, today's topic is about fear. It really was about fear, fear of not being enough, fear of failure, fear of not being loved, fear of being rejected, all these things, they could be in perfectionism. I can't put this content out. I'm not sure anyone will listen to say that it's different or better than anyone else, and all this nonsense that goes on in your head. How can I help these people when I've just started my business? And I'll talk all these struggles, all these inner struggles, because we all look for strategies. And what I did during those 3 years, I spent 80% of my time looking for strategies. But the strategy was never the problem. When I say strategies, I'm talking about, marketing strategies, whether it's YouTube or Facebook ads or blogging. Yeah. I spent all my time thinking, if I learn one more strategy, then I'll just bust through this stress, the struggle, and the sacrifice. And it was BS. That was not where the change needed to be.
Actually, yeah, that's very interesting what you are saying, because I find this personally like big thing, because obviously we have so much voice there when it comes to absolutely taking action. Take action, go to attitude, learn through action. Even sometimes don't dig too much into mindset, because you will find those answers just via doing, trying, failing, and stuff like this. But then, like, my approach is definitely all about the balance. Definitely, mindset work, building this, belief system is massive, because I don't know about you, but I think you can hustle, like you can work your ass off, and and just like make circles if you really don't at one point look up more deep within and really assess those gremlins, those limiting beliefs, like yes, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, which is like huge, fear of like what other people would think of you. I personally found this a massive transition, like the moment I dropped the fear of judgment, or this is still obviously a process, but it is like big progress, to be honest, because that makes you step more into visibility, step more into really, yes, judge me, like think whatever you want, but you are in your mission and you build this kind of, you are unstoppable, in your vision. But yeah, so how do you look at this aspect? Because what I really admire and I really like in your approach is it's just this kind of very straight cut, business acumen, and then also the balancing it with very strong, almost like awareness of okay, I know what may stop me. I know that inner work is just as important. Can you tell a little bit more about what you think? Yeah. In this?
Yeah, so, well, there's a couple of distinctions there. Firstly, the truth is the only breakthrough actually happened because all that struggle, stress, and sacrifice was largely down to the fact I was simply not taking enough action. I was drowning in the fears. I was drowning in the doubt. And I was overthinking. I was who's my avatar? What's my ideal service? I've got literally journal of notes, which if I look in honest, they pretty much say the same thing over and over and over again. And that is a distinct sign that fear is standing in the way. I was trying to think my way into action, right? But you cannot think your way into clarity. You cannot think your way into clarity. The only way to get true clarity is to act and engage. And I'd heard it so many times, from people like Tony Robbins, Marie Forleo, Brendon Burchard, and all the people I listen and learn from, Tim Ferriss. Yeah. They were like, take action and you will learn. Take action and you'll find clarity. I just wish I'd listened earlier because I really did. Nothing is ever wasted, but now I'm playing catch up because you're right. You need both. You do need both, but many people are stuck because they can't make it. They haven't decided on who their market is. They haven't decided on what their service is. They're too busy trying to figure out what their sole purpose is, but the only way you'll ever find it is to go look, and the way to look is to get out there and move your feet and get into motion. But once you're in motion, and I use the analogy, and here's a great analogy because this is a reflection of how my life is. So if you go to the swimming pool and you watch me in the pool, I'm not a very good swimmer. Might be a limiting belief. Maybe I'll switch that belief and I'll become a good swimmer again. When I was a teenager, I was a good swimmer. You watch me swim across the pool, I'm slamming it across the pool. I'm slamming it across the pool. I'm making all this kind of splashing and noise. Right. I reach the other side, and this is how it used to be. I reach the other side, and I'm heaving for breath because I've just slammed it across the other side. Yeah. And then there's someone who's like twice my age, just casually like.
Yeah, effortlessly.
It takes her twice as long to get to the end of the pool, but then she just turns around and goes again. So what I learned from that is that whilst action is important, it needs to be in flow as well. And you need to be able to create the momentum that gives you motion, but you also need to come up for breath. So I would go under the water all the way. I'd do the entire length without breathing. So that's why I'd come out the other side. Right. So in life, you have to breathe in and you have to breathe out. So for me, breathing in is tuning into yourself. It's tuning into who you really are. It's tuning into what you really, really want. It's tuning into all those things, those aspects that make you who you are, really understanding your identity, your personality. But then you have to breathe out. If you're only breathing in, to me, the mindset work is breathing in. And I see a lot of people just holding their breath. They're breathing in, but they're never breathing out. The way you breathe out is when you go out into the marketplace and you move, you get things happening, you put things out in the world. So that's how you get.
I love this analogy. I love it.
In life, if we just breathe in, we die. If we just breathe out, we die. We need both. So mindset to me, and I said to you this the other day, is it's like an elastic band. In the morning, I do my 2 to 3 hours of mindset work, inner work. It's probably about an hour of inner work alongside.
So this inner work. So what do you mainly focus on, or what sort of stuff really help you build this preparation really for? going
Well,
for it?
I'll walk you through what's happened so far today. You know, it's 8:20 in the morning, coffee with Dan and Gosia. Good morning. So I wake up and I immediately go and work out, have a short workout, because what working out does for me, not only does it stimulate my body, but it primes me, it gets me in a physically strong state, and it gets the endorphins running, and it gets my mental state ready to go. It wakes me up. Right. So if I'm fully awake, then my senses are alert, because when we're tired, it's very easy when we're tired to slip into negative thought patterns. So the first key to me is I've got to freaking wake up. And if I'm not training, I'll go and have a cold shower. I'll jump in the shower, freezing cold, and it wakes every single sense up. You know, I want my body awake. And by the way, if you're going to go and try that, don't just jump in immediately freezing. You have to build up to it, because you might give yourself a heart attack.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Right, I'm going to go do that, and then they come out frozen. So get my body moving. After that, I nourish myself. I eat a healthy breakfast, and again, you know, part of having a healthy mind is having a healthy body. You know, you've got to fuel your body and mind with the right nutrients. So every morning I have a healthy breakfast, fresh green juice, single black coffee.
Good stuff,
But then after that, you know, once I'm settled, I'll go into meditation. I'll spend anything between 5 minutes to half an hour in meditation.
Yeah.
And I kind of meditate into the point where I feel centered. It's this feeling. And, you know, I was talking to James Labors last night, and he was asking some really cool questions about how do you know when you're there? And it made me think there's an inner knowing that you're got this, you're at your core, and you feel ready. And at that moment, my eyes open and I'm ready to face the day. And the very next thing I do is take out my journal and I ask myself a few simple questions.
Yeah.
You know, what am I here for? What do I really want in my life? What does it look like? Who am I right now? Who am I becoming? And I just free flow. And then the final question is, what's on your mind today, DG? So, you know, I just take out any loose thoughts, because we often just go straight into the day and there's all this stuff going on in our mind. So I want to take that moment to just get it down on paper, because if there's anything in that thought process that is going to hold me back, I want to catch it early. You know, I want to catch it early in the day rather than just allow it to be nagging in my mind, this thought or this feeling or this belief. So I journal this out every single morning, and the process of writing down what you want every single day will just bring you new ideas that connect to it. And I don't refer back to what I wrote the previous day. I'm just acting from that day. Every day is a new day. I'm acting from that fresh moment. So I don't stress out, oh, but did I write that yesterday? If it's not showing up today, it's not right for today.
I tell you, if I can, what I think, and many people again can resonate. This indecision aspect. So yes, I do mindset work. Yes, I do meditation. Yes, I do setting up intention for the day. What really I want to achieve, and you know, but very often it is that there are so many ideas, and so all of them I have written and stuff. But it is this indecision, because I think many entrepreneurs struggle with this aspect that we kind of know exactly what to do. We can't distinguish between tasks or activities that are purely just to really bring us more clients or more money, right? Versus those that just more like build brand, more like, you know, ongoing. But because it's so much of it, it's just sometimes I feel definitely paralyzed with this, you know, analysis paralysis, or even, this kind of indecision, like what aspect is more important right now at this time? You know what I mean? Because we don't want to make decisions that, you know, or just at least have a sense that, well, we should have not done that at this stage in business, maybe at the other stage. You know, of course, it's important to have a coach in this, but even just to have this inner trust, you know. So how do you go about the aspect of indecision? You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean, and I relate to you completely, because I went through everything, the exact same thought process you're talking about myself. Yeah. And it doesn't go away. You can condition it. It doesn't go away. you learn, but you learn to manage it, because earlier on in my career, in my entrepreneurial career, it was pervasive. It was there all the time. You know, Absolutely. It was dominant. It was circular thinking, constantly thinking about the same things over and over again, but the cycle never got broken. So nothing got done, because I was just stuck in the state of thought.
How to step out of it a little bit? How to manage it better? What would you?
Well, step one is awareness. Like, you have to be aware that it's happening. So right. when I work with coaching clients, we have something called.
Guys, just let you know, write this down, because
Step one is awareness. You have to be aware of the fact that you're in consistent circular thoughts, because until you stop and think, hang on a minute, I've been thinking about this for an awful long time. Something's got to shift. You have to be, awareness is the first step. So, how do you get awareness? Well, part of the daily routine for me is to take that time out to reflect on what is on my mind right now. And you can do that, multiple times a day. I typically do it in the morning, review it again in the night. But just taking that time out, and as an entrepreneur, it's vital that you take time out, a little bit every single day, but certainly for a longer period, once a week, just to reflect on what's going on in my mind right now. What am I thinking about? What decisions have I yet to make? Because a decision in the Latin terms means to cut off from all other possibility.
Yeah.
So a lot of people go into this cycle of overthinking. So once you're aware that you're overthinking something, often you'll trace back that there is some root fear that is preventing you from making the decision. The fear often is of making the wrong decision. And I developed a concept called the fear of permanence. You believe that if I do that, then I'm going to cut myself off from all these other cool things. So the challenge is when you're in that position and you don't decide, none of them actually happen. So you have to make a choice. And I say, look, make a decision and make it a committed decision. What information do you need to make the decision finally? Is there more information that you need? And what I find when I ask people one-to-one, look them in the eyes, do you really need more information? The answer is rarely, I need more information. People often have all the information they need. They have everything they need inside of themselves. However, if it is an important decision and you do need to weigh up some fact, if you're looking at something that's going to drastically impact the direction of your business and you need to get some facts and figures behind it, then ask yourself, what specific information do you need to make the decision? And once you have that information, you need to be setting a deadline on the decision. Setting a deadline on the decision. That has to be like within 24 hours. I don't allow any of my coaching clients to say, oh, next week. No. You're just going to carry on free flowing in the same thought pattern for another week. Nothing's going to change. So put a timeline on it. Within 24 hours, I'm going to make the decision by this time. And when I sit down to make a decision now, I give myself a maximum of 10 minutes to make the decision. And that's a long time for me now, 10 minutes. Before, I'd spend weeks
10 minutes to make a decision.
So I'll write down, what is it?
For example, 10 minutes to make a decision. So let's say you have so many different things to do in business. So, potentially, And so you say, give yourself 10 minutes to actually make decision what you will be doing today. That's what you mean?
Number one is, what do I really want? What does my heart desire? What's my ultimate outcome? Because I always refer back to, what's my North Star? Where am I heading? What's the big picture? What's the mountaintop? What's the mountaintop? Because I always think, I'm climbing the mountain. I want to get to the top of the mountain. Which mountain am I going after? Number one, I need to know where I'm heading. So what do I truly want is my ultimate long-term picture. And I don't need to know, when it's going to happen. I just need to know where I'm heading. I don't even need to know necessarily how it's going to happen. But once I know that immediate long-term future, then it's right. Okay, now I know my long-term future. What is the most immediate action that I can take that is going to move me further towards that mountain, that big picture vision? What is the most simple and effective next step that I can take that I will thoroughly enjoy, that is truly aligned with who I am, that will move me towards that mountain? So in that 10-minute period, I've reminded myself where I'm going. And because I want to make sure, because the challenge is if we're stuck, and often, many entrepreneurs who are stuck, there's some scarcity thinking that comes around that. It could be that, in my case, I was, running out of cash, I was going broke, so I was making decisions out of scarcity. And the problem is when you make a decision out of scarcity is that you're focusing on the immediate rather than the long term. So in order to make a really aligned decision, you want to make sure the decision is truly aligned with where you're going, because otherwise you'll make short-term decisions and end up on paths that will take you out of alignment with where you really want to go. So always thinking about the big picture, but then I'm looking, what's the next action I can take? What's the next most important action I can take? And then I look, if I look at the mountain first, then I'm looking down at the ground. I'm looking at where my feet are. Where do I need to move next? Where do I need to move next? And what do I need to believe about this next step in order for it to be effective?
How to trust. I appreciate and I totally understand, this thinking pattern, but how to trust what is this next right decision that takes you to your mountain top, you know what I mean? Because there are many decisions that at the end of the day lead pretty much, I think, if I wrote down all kind of activities that I could do, they all really lead to the top of the mountain, in my view, you know what I mean? So how to trust that, hang on, like this decision is the one that I should make right now, because you know what I mean? Because there is pool of all sorts of things that lead to.
Of course. But again, it comes back to fear. Fear is controlling you in that moment, because the fear is saying, is that the right decision? If I make that decision, will I fail? Am I good enough to do that? Will I fail if I do that? Will I be rejected if I do that? Underlying, there was a fear. And there's a fear, if I make that choice, then will I miss out on this choice? But that's again why I put a timeline on it, because if you don't decide, none of those things, none of those ideas will ever move forward, and they just remain ideas.
I have noticed that, I must say, that I can stuck sometimes in this kind of indecision or this paralysis mode, that I had so many different ideas, and then because of the overthinking, which is effective, procrastination is nothing else than disguised fear. Like pretty much. So so I understand. You just can end up doing nothing, and then waking up next morning with the guilt saying good morning to you. Absolutely. That's the worst feeling.
I remember that feeling well. It's common. Don't worry, you're not alone. You're not alone. But that's why I say in that time frame, that's why I give us such a tight time frame. And by the end of that 10 minutes, I have to make a decision. I have to make a decision.
10 minutes. I like it. So guys, right now, 10 minutes, not more.
Maximum. When I do my group coaching workshops, I give you like 60 seconds. Because I know your heart knows the answer. And that's why the less time I give you, like right now, if there was a decision you needed to make, and I said, make the decision now, you would instantly come up with it. The first thing that comes to your mind would be the thing that you need to be doing.
Actually, you know what? I had something really that perhaps you had, a lady called Mel Robbins.
I know it. Yeah, I've heard of Mel Robbins. She
said she came up with this 5-second rule. So based on this instinct that you just said, that like taking this action, so count like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then
go.
That's it. Just do it. That's as much as you have really to.
Yes, and then you just have to trust. Then it is faith. Napoleon Hill talks about the principle of faith in Think and Grow Rich. The principle of faith, the leap. The moment that you're able to leap, and I've had the physical equivalent of this. I used to be afraid of heights. And my girlfriend Lizzie bought me a bungee jump for my birthday. I thought, great, happy birthday. But I got to that thing. My heart was pounding. The guy was profound. He didn't realize it. If I ever see him again, I'd thank him. At the top of the platform, he said, all you need to do is disengage the brain and walk off the edge. And I was like, wow, that is profound. Isn't that so relevant to this conversation? Because that's what we have to do. We have to disengage the brain. It's the brain, that's the monkey mind that's going, what if it doesn't work out? What if the other one was a better idea? Am I good enough? It's the monkey mind. So disengage the brain and take the leap, knowing, I had to trust that bungee jump was going to catch me and hold me, and freaking hell it did, and it was bloody enjoyable, and I loved it. And I was like, right, give me the bigger one, let's go. Why have we been afraid all this time? It's great fun, because often the decision that we're afraid of making is the very decision we need to make. Every single time. The decision we're most afraid of making is the decision we need to make every single time. And the moment we do it with faith, magic happens. And the fear that you had about making the decision just evaporates. And all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this ages ago? This has all been waiting for me just behind this decision. It's like opening the curtains to a new day. Making a decision creates opportunity for you. But while you're sitting behind the decision, all of the great stuff that you're envisioning in your mind, that big picture, is stuck behind that decision. So
I think that's very strong. And if I can just bring like something that instantly popped to my mind, when I set up business, within like 2 weeks, I remember I ran my very first workshop. You would expect that, oh my God, you have to be so long in the business before you start running workshop. But actually, this is literally your brain, because at that time, I just like put the idea into action. I just set up workshop, and now when I'm looking at the materials, even the content, it was really good. You know what I mean? And it's just like you know already at this very stage of your business, however early or whatever stage, more than enough. And that's what I've learned, because I literally look at that and it's like, the only thing that I think we really gain so much in the process is definitely this confidence in the way you deliver. Maybe, you are more confident. But
confidence comes with time. That comes with the action. It comes with the delivery. Every step forward you take, you get more confident.
Yeah, but I think the best, definitely, that was the huge learning, that I just took this leap. I just I'm going for it. I'm just so new, but I'm going for it. Just a workshop, for women. And that was present. Like literally a couple of days ago, I was just looking, because I'm thinking of running a new one, and I was just looking at those, the stuff that I put there, and it was like, wow. I was like almost impressed with myself, with myself.
Absolutely.
It's just so much overthinking can really stop you from it. And good that I just at that time just action.
Yeah, when you liberate yourself from that, it's such an empowering feeling, because you just feel like you're free, you feel like you're in momentum, you feel like you're in flow. And the key is, like you said, it's about getting that balance, because when you are in action mode, it's very easy to be the guy who's swimming under the water, not coming up for air. You're going for it, bang. But you can get that again. That's not from force. That's from flow. A little push to get into momentum. But once you're in flow, you're on moving. But then, even when you're in flow, you still need to come up and go, actually, am I in the right direction? Am I looking? Am I facing the right way? Especially if you're in the swimming pool. Am I heading towards? Am I into someone else that's still in my lane? So even when we're in action, we still need to come up and say, am I still moving in the right direction? Does this feel right? We're born with this emotional guidance system. Now, intuition is something that, if we trust in our intuition, it will guide us. It will guide us. But many of us, it's that fear that prevents us from actually really tuning into what that intuition is telling us. We have to listen to it and act upon it. And the beautiful example you just shared there, and the joy in your face, it was just like, yes, that's freedom. I saw freedom in you just then, when you just went for it. But the beautiful thing is, I've had times before I'm thinking I could do this product or this product. Yeah. Which one do I want to do? And I'd be overthinking it. I'm like, well, the only way to know is to go and do one of them. So which one would I do?
And you know what? That's huge. And I think, I've learned, a lot about this. And but what is the also really big aspect, if you can just touch upon, is this kind of fear of judgment, because fear of criticism, because I think that stops so many people, so many entrepreneurs from actually showing up. And obviously you are showing up in your podcast, and we were chatting the other day about some people prefer to read, as the way they receive the way they understand content, or how they prefer to consume content. Consume, that's the word. Yes. And we were chatting that you do podcasts, right? So it's like, actually, tell me a little bit more, how long have you been running this podcast for? And I think you've built a really great network from it, which is...
So I launched the podcast in February 2016. That was really the solidification of the Unstoppable brand. I launched the brand with the podcast, and all the same fears came into that decision. And if you listen to the first 10 episodes, the first 5, you can tell I'm pretty much scripted, because I was too afraid to just get
right. Yeah.
and rock for my heart. I was. And all that stuff, but eventually my audience picked up on it. They're like, "Damn, we just love it when you're just free flow. You seem to be way more into the vibe when you're just on it."
Yeah.
Launched the podcast, and it's been a journey. But it's, again, the fact that I committed to it and did 2 episodes a week for an entire year. No matter what, I was in the Alps I was in the Alps. I was cycling through the Alps. I only had a bike. I had 2 sets of clothes, but I had my mobile phone, and I had had Wi-Fi, and I committed to still getting my podcast episode out. I'd been out for some wine that evening, and I still came back. I still recorded it, still put it out. It's important. But through that process of consistency, I started to find my voice. And it's the same now with Facebook Live. Now I'm doing Facebook Live. I'm just like 3, 2, 1. Let's talk. And
I love that.
It's by the process of putting it out there that I'm responding. There's 2 responses I get. I get the internal response that tells me, is this something that I'm actually feeling aligned with? do I feel this is the right message for me? Then I also get the response from the audience. But the first, it's more important to pay attention to how I'm feeling. And the reason I pay attention to the audience is not because I'm thinking about, are they judging me? I'm thinking about, is this helping them? Is this helping the audience?
Yeah, so I'm just quickly looking at, because we have few people joining us. So Mova, hello, lovely. Thanks so much for joining. Yes, she just said overthinking is crippling. No action gets taken. Absolutely, yes, that's correct. Yes, and hi, Cherry. Thanks for joining. Gosia as well. She says, yes, guys, yes, exactly. Yeah, hi, Owen. Yeah. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for joining. Basically, yeah, just ask any questions you have when it comes to building this resilience, this mental strength, or how to really overcome those fears, or how do you find, what ways maybe you find that work and help you really overcome, especially like visibility or going all in, because that's what really we are talking about. And for me personally, massive shift, and I think just wonder if this person is actually here. No, he's not. But we actually met. I met Dan actually through the one cool program run by Warren Ryan, who is international speaker.
Yep.
Actually, I think thanks to this program, I just really managed to look so much even deeper into me and my fears. And actually there's one specific fear that really I dropped so much, which is fear of judgment and criticism, that actually had me show up in business. So I could say just one thing, just to people to really, if they obviously they had the gut to set up businesses, whether that's female entrepreneurs or just male entrepreneurs, but they still feel that they just can't just show up, or maybe they put the voice like you've done via podcast and also videos, or just showing up, doing those Facebook lives and keeping consistent. It is so much when you, I think, look really within, it boils so much down to this fear of judgment, because that we would think so much about how we will be perceived, but more than anything we will worry about how we would judge ourselves in all of it. We don't want to be fully in front of ourselves, or so it's lots of thinking about this. And it is this kind of mindset that you really need to, like you say, then stay in your lane, keep the action, keep it consistent, because action will clear so much I think basically will give you clarity also, when you are heading as well, is somehow. And but yes, guys, fear is massive. I wonder if I'm pretty sure that it can resonate, because that's something that I've transformed me a lot recently, and it enabled me to be myself, and that's quite a big thing. That's quite a big thing, because I compared on my videos, because I've been doing videos since, I don't know, over a year at least. But when I compare myself now versus those first videos, when I said, it's just totally different story, because you see different energy, you see more. But what I see most, and that's interesting, is I see more of me in me.
Yes.
I see that this kind of freedom, that you just peeled off those layers, you just stripped this kind of the fear with especially with this kind of criticism, and you just let yourself, for God's sake, let yourself be yourself. That's the best thing that I could ever, the best advice that I could ever give anyone. Just be yourself. We say it so much, be yourself, but actually seriously tune in with it. It is huge. It is transformational. Yeah, would you agree? Because I
definitely agree.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the fear of being judged, really, actually, it's a part of the ego that is giving us that fear. But firstly, the perception that we are going to be judged is often just in here. It's going on in our mind. Like every other fear, it's just a process that's going around in our heads. So we are falsely assuming that other people are judging us. We're also falsely assuming that people have got the time of day to actually stop and think something negative about us.
Yeah.
Most people haven't got. Most people are too wrapped up in their own shit to worry about what they think of us. And to me, you know, when people ask me, my definition of freedom has changed an awful lot. To me now, freedom is to be, you know, authentically, unapologetically, 100% yourself, and totally free of judgment. Because once you accept yourself for who you are and you own yourself as who you are, the people who will be in your life will be the ones who love you for who you are. I haven't got time for the people who don't like me for who I am. I'm not here to be liked, you know. I'm not. It's the same. Whether it was in my corporate job as a leader, it wasn't my job to be liked. It was my job to be respected and make sure that I got the job done. And the same is true in my business. I don't need to be liked by everyone. I don't even need to be respected, to be honest. I don't seek respect or being liked. I just know I've got a message and I've got some tools that can help people. And if I don't show up fully as myself, then there's people out there that I could be helping and I wouldn't be. So when I make my goal and I tune into my goals, and when I'm speaking about my goals and talking about the impact, the people that I know who have been through or going through the same level of stress, struggle, and sacrifice that I went through, I know that someone sat there in this world that I could be helping. And if I didn't show up fully, not only am I letting myself down, but I'm letting that other person down. And I remember I went through a deep meditation with a Les Brown meditation, and he did this thing called collapsing it. He didn't actually call it this, but this is what I call the process. It's called collapsing the timeline. And it's if you had 3 months to live, or 90 days to live, or 1 week to live, you know, if you didn't share your message in that time, you know, how would the world be deprived? And I just sat there in freaking tears, thinking like I've just been stuck in my own head with all this bullshit, and I'm depriving myself and others. And the pain of depriving others made me more upset, you know, when I made it about, because it's all in here, we're thinking about ourselves. You know, when we're clear on who we can help and how we can help them, and we take ourselves out of the equation, we free ourselves. You know,
absolutely. And there's this one question, I think I did a video recently about this. There's just one question that will actually fix, or is good start at least to fix this fear of judgment. If you were to die tomorrow, seriously, if you were to die tomorrow, imagine you are dying tomorrow. Like, what would you regret most when it comes to, and I just like wrote down those things, and I would really regret that I let other people like decide on my value, or let other people, you know, allow other people basically to, you know, shape, you know, how I feel, or shape, or just stop me from going for what I want in life only because of what they think. That would be just like, guys, really tune in with it. If you were to die tomorrow, seriously, like, would it be worth, like, how much worth you really wanted to put into, you know, what other people think about you? Like, would you really want this to stop you from going out there, from setting up your business, from failing in this business, maybe setting up another one, from showing up, from being dancing in front of camera? Like, I don't know, whatever it is. But seriously, when you tune with this question, it's like, this is like so not worth to stop you from actually living your life on your own terms. It is really, really, I'm so passionate about this, because for far too long, I was just such a people pleaser. I would just like seeking every single compliment, or, you know, like putting my value in the hands of other people, lack of my own control over my life. And that's what you effectively are doing. If you are not ready to put the live stream and to make fun and full of yourself even, or whatever it is, then you are effectively, you know, allowing someone else's thinking that they probably don't even think, you know, what you say, that they don't even care. But you allow this to stop you. And actually, I also like this one affirmation that says that, I think just like you are on your way to success. Like, the only person that can stop you from doing anything in life, from achieving anything you want, is actually you. Really. And that's huge. If you tune in with this, it gives you a different perspective, and it's good to be more and more grounded and work on this perspective, because it is transformational. And so there you go.
Well, it opens up a door here, because I believe there's a generation right now, millennials and Generation Z, if that's what they're called, the generation after them, I think, where there's a generation of people now who are really trying to find this answer to the question, who am I? Because they've grown up in the filter generation. They've grown up in the social media generation where it's a false portrayal of reality. Life is through a lens. It's the selfie stick culture. People don't actually know what is real and what is not real. So there's actually an entire generation right now who are really struggling to find themselves, because it's one thing saying be yourself, but many people are probably thinking, well, who the heck am I really? Who am I really? And really connecting. And there's an entire process to really figure out who you are so you can show up fully, because the reality is who we are as a human being is developed largely in full by the time we are 7 or 8 years old. It's called, our paradigm, our mental paradigm. And that is shaped by our teachers, our parents, our friends, our experiences, our upbringing. And largely, a large part of our paradigm, i.e. our personality, our character traits, are ingrained by the age of 7 or 8 years old. And we have not consciously decided that identity. So many times, a lot of the work I do now when it comes to helping people realize what they're capable of is really helping people to figure out who they are. And there's a really fascinating exercise that you can do. And I do this in an intense live process, which is mind-blowing to watch. But you can do it yourself. I just get two people together and I get them to repeatedly ask the other person. So if you and I were doing it, I'd say, who are you? And you would say what comes back to me. And we all start with the surface level stuff. I'm a teacher, I'm this, I'm that. But you keep going. It's like peeling the onion, peeling the layers. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And all this stuff comes out. The good, but what's really interesting is that the good, the bad, and the ugly comes out. When I do this process, it's rare that the half the room will be in tears because they're hearing themselves say the ugly truth, what they think is the ugly truth. It's not the truth. But they're saying the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as they say it about themselves, they recognize, that's where the tears come, they recognize that is not who they are. But a lot of that stuff is shaped through all of our experiences, all our reference points. So if we are walking around carrying this false definition of who we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, we want to be stripping out that bad and the ugly, because none of it is the truth. So when people say, and I always question people, say, live your truth, because there's a lot of people saying that kind of stuff right now. But saying, what does that mean? Because the reality is you are living your truth right now. And if it doesn't feel good, it's because you haven't stripped out the bad and the ugly within that. Because you're always showing your truth. You're always living your truth, either consciously or unconsciously. So in order to get to your highest level of truth, we need to be stripping back to the core to understand what it is that we're telling ourselves about ourselves as our identity, because it's all that under the surface stuff that is holding you back. We're always living our truth, but it doesn't have to be the truth. So when I do this process, like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and people, especially British people, we suck at saying the good stuff. I'm freaking great at this. Own it. It's not arrogant. It's not arrogant to love what you do and love yourself. It's not arrogant to love yourself. But if you ask yourself, and I would recommend everyone to do this, take out a journal and write at the top of the page, who am I? And keep writing. Just answer the question, and you will see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when you do that, and when the bad stuff comes out and the ugly stuff comes out, you simply on another page, you write, is this the truth? And you'll realize that it's not. You'll realize where it came from. You'll realize it'd be a single, one of my clients had a single occasion in his lifetime where he'd scored 3 goals on the football pitch, and he went to his dad afterwards and he said, what did you think of the game? And his dad commented on the performance of someone else that was playing on the team. He didn't get acknowledged in that moment. Therefore, in that moment, it shaped, this guy was like 6 or 7 years old. In that moment, he needed external validation all the way through into his adult life, into his 50s, because of a single occasion when he was a kid. So it shaped his identity. So when we do this exercise and we say, who are you? All that good, the bad, and the ugly is going to come out, and you want to confront the stuff that is not the truth of who you are. Because it's all very well that saying show up and live in our truth, but actually there's a lot of us carrying a lot of baggage around, so that it's preventing us from actually truly living in that joyous, loving, real highest self. So a lot of people are carrying that in their identity. So the exercise, it will enable you to see all that bullshit that you're talking about yourself. Who are you? And it's, people write, I had someone say, I'm a letdown. And imagine if you're walking around thinking subconsciously in your mind, I'm a letdown. How does that show up in your behavior and who you are? That's not the truth. I always say, what is the truth here? And, you know, people write out these amazing statements of who they really are, and they let go of that negative aspect that they've been carrying subconsciously in their mind. It's a really powerful exercise.
Thanks for that, Dan. We will be wrapping up. It's already 1 hour. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, I know.
I'm just looking at comments because obviously I am here,
Cool.
the controller on my end. I think Owen asked a question actually. Like 10 minutes ago, but
Sorry,
for you. How do you guys take yourself away from your work? What structure do you put in place, and how do you commit to it? So how do you guys take yourself away from work? So I've actually met Owen yesterday. We had a great chat. So thanks, Owen, for asking this question. But yes, so you know what I mean. But probably work-life balance. That's what we are talking about, because it's so easy to work, 7 days a week. But so how do you take yourself? How do you set boundaries? Because that's about setting boundaries and sticking to it, right?
Partially, yes. Now here's an interesting thing, though. I find I got this from my coach. I'm working with a productivity coach at the moment. He's been truly transformational for me.
Fantastic.
But and on this, like any type of coaching at the surface, you go way beyond the surface level stuff of tools and strategies. But he asked me the question, if you were able to get your work day down to 1 hour, how would you use the rest of your time? And I was like, good question. Because often it's not so much about boundaries, it's actually the fact that we're working so hard is often a mask for the fact that we don't actually know how we would use our time if we had it available. So many entrepreneurs I speak with, I said, if you didn't work so many hours, what would you actually do? And they're like, arbitrarily people say things, I spend more time with my family. I'm like, well, but they're at work as well. So what would you do? What would you do when they're not around? So I think one of the first step really before we go to boundaries is, what does your ideal day look like? If you had it, and remember, you are the creator of your life. Derek Sivers says, business is the ultimate utopia. You get to create life as you want it to be. It's like you're in control of the planet. You create your own world. So number one is, firstly, before we even go to boundaries, what does your ultimate lifestyle look like? If you could design your day, firstly, you've got to have that clarity. So number one, how would you spend your day? And, recently I went to visit a friend up in Birmingham. We took a break and we started playing basketball. And I was like, yes, I'd love to just break out into the day. He had a court near his house. So I was like, what can I incorporate into my day? So number one, it's about really getting clear on what your ideal day looks like. There's Parkinson's law, and, Tim Ferriss talks about this. Parkinson's law says that, our workload will expand to the timeline we give it. So often we'll work on tasks that take twice as long than they actually need. So
80-20
80-20 rule, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I often feel that a lot of the work that entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs whose businesses are based on their knowledge, their expertise and their ideas, coaches, consultants, experts, often a lot of the activity that is spent in business is unnecessary. To build an expert-based business, there's only a few things that you need to be doing on a daily basis. So a lot of it is noise, and a lot of this and I'll come to boundaries in a minute, but a lot of it's proliferated by the previous generation, the generation that has gone behind us, before us. As much as I love them, they didn't have the same tools, they didn't have the same technology, they didn't have the same things available to them to do things on an automated basis. We can automate and systemize and outsource so much of our business that, this whole hustle mentality. And I've been on a little bit of an anti-hustle thing recently, as much as talking about inspired and aligned action and smart action, because, you get people wearing hustle like a badge. Oh man, I crushed it. I did 18 hours today. And you ask the question, what were your outputs? What did you achieve? What were the results? And they're like, 18 hours of what then? What have you been doing for 18 hours? If you don't have a material result, if you can't in your journal at the end of the day write down what you've accomplished and materially, how you've materially moved the needle in your business after freaking grinding for 18 hours, what the heck were you doing? So this whole piece about working loads of hours in your business, firstly, there's two concepts I work and live by. It's efficiency and effectiveness. Effectiveness is doing the right things, and efficiency is doing things right. So number one, it's like, okay, in business, am I working on the things that are most important to drive my business forward? And how much time and what activities do I actually need to do to move the needle? Most people don't spend their time on the right activities. They spend most of their time on social media or reading or learning or studying, especially, like I said, in this knowledge economy where it's about expertise. There's very few people who are actually really dialed into the most important activities. So firstly, number one, define your ideal day. Number two, be very clear on the actual activities, the key result areas in your business that you need to be operating on a daily basis. So I structure my day into 3 parts. Number one, I do creation in the morning. It's content creation. Number two, it's sales and influence activities. And number three, it's delivery. So those are the 3 compartments I have for the day. And then I have a very...
Can you repeat this? So number one is, can you repeat this?
Yeah, creation. So in the morning, I create my content for the day. That could be blogs. It could be getting my ideas together from a Facebook Live. It could be getting my ideas together for my courses. It's getting my social media posts together. The second part is then sales and influence. It's about then what sales activities, what daily sales activities I'm actually going to create to generate revenue in my business. Right. And then finally, it's projects and delivery. So, if I'm developing a new course or a new product, or I'm working on a specific project, I've got time in the afternoon. But the majority of my time is spent in the sales and influence, promoting my business. 80% of my time is in promotion because, that's what attracts attention and that's what makes the business move.
I think, yes. So I think we'll be just wrapping up. Sorry, I think it's like 1 hour, but yeah, I think
we're done. Yeah.
I think Owen just confirmed that. Yeah.
Go on, you need it.
He got his answer. So yes, but it can be tricky, all this kind of work. But yeah, I love your actually tips. So thanks very much for this. And so I just wanted to share links, guys. Of course, if you have any questions, let us know because it's just great conversation. And yeah, just go for it. Let's chat. But let me just give you a link to Dan's page and awesome podcast. There you go. Is that correct?
Nice. That's cool. I haven't used Be Live before, but ta-da!
I like it.
Amazing.
I like it.
Amazing.
Guys, BeLive.tv is good for Q&A. So I like
Thank
to
you so much,
I like to run this Q&A when I answer, because we all, before we even invest in whether that's coaching or whatever, in other businesses helping us, go forward. We have so many questions that there's not much conversation, because these days saying so much about, I don't know, is lacking pure conversation. You talk human with human, you know what I mean?
Yes.
My questions that I really have, but no one wants to put forward. So I like the concept of actually answering questions in those Q&As, questions that my clients are asking themselves. No one says out loud.
Yes.
It's so much about honesty, transparency, and but again, it is all down to the fears. If I was fearing that, oh my God, what would they think? Or will this hurt my brand, hurt my business? But actually it is down to just simple communication and empathy, right? And the willingness to just be honest and help. And yes, this is me. You know what I mean? This is me. It's really all down to those core things, whatever you do. So Dan, so in this podcast, you do how often do you do episodes? You said twice a week, right? Or...
Twice per week. So on Monday's solo round, which is 20 to 30 minutes of content from me. And then every Thursday we have a 45-minute interview with a special guest on a specific topics, and do lots of different series. For those of you interested in developing a money mindset, last November, I did an amazing series on money mindset. It's been one of the most well-received.
Fantastic. I need that.
Section, so do check that out. I had 4 or 5 real game-changing experts on the show to talk about money mindset.
What is the episode number? Do you remember?
It's
that's okay. Yeah, I will find.
Probably 78 onwards, I think, if I remember rightly.
I will definitely.
You'll see it in bold, all capital letters, financial, money mindset.
That's fabulous. Thanks so much, Dan. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. So I just quickly so obviously you can go on Dan's page. I just try to put my website now. This is me, guys. This is me. Gosia Scarrott, software stylist for Go Get the Female Entrepreneurs. Yeah, so guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you find this useful, and I know that many of you can resonate. So it's amazing that we can just chat about this, be honest, and we just really can put some steps into, you know, build this unstoppable, resilient mindset and attitude to take our businesses and life to the next level. That's what we all want, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks so much.
Gosia's you're doing so much great stuff in the world. You know, if you've enjoyed this video, please help Gosia out and get it out there and go and share it. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure being here with you all this morning. Go out there, unleash your greatness, build your empire, make your impact, live your ultimate life, because you guys are all unstoppable.
Woohoo!
Yeah, let's start the day.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
All right, see you guys.
Let me just end.